Hello, welcome to the Master Wing channel. Today for our Dice Throne character review, we're taking a closer look at Iceman. At the time of this recording, Iceman was recently released with the X-Men Missions Kickstarter, but is also available in retail. The Dice Throne team did another phenomenal job at making a character unique and fun to play. He definitely doesn't have a copy and paste kit with a complexity of 4. By the end of this video, you will understand all of Iceman's status effects, an overarching view of attacks and strategy, as well as some cool cards to look out for. Let's jump right into Iceman's leaflet. His first status effect is Dice Cube. If you inflict this on an opponent, the player cannot alter the lowest value die from their first roll attempt during their offensive roll phase. It's stuck, or frozen, so to speak. It's an annoying status effect that can limit your opponent's options. It also has a stack limit of 2, so if you have 2 Dice Cube tokens on you, you can't alter the 2 lowest value dice. Then the token is removed after the offensive roll phase. His next status effect is Ice Shard. This is where Iceman gets interesting. Ice Shards can boost your Everybody Chill abilities, so the more shards you have, the more damage you can deal. But more importantly, the real reason you need Ice Shards is to get Iceman's unique status effect, Glide. If you notice Iceman's board, you can see arrows on abilities pointing to other abilities, and this is where Glide comes into play. You can exchange 5 Ice Shards to get a Glide token, and then you may spend that Glide token at the conclusion of your opponent's defensive roll phase to activate a second offensive ability without needing to roll for it. Let's look at an example and then we'll explain Iceman's freezer. You could roll for Cold Treat, gain 1 CP, store 1 Ice Shard in the freezer, and deal 7 damage. Then your opponent rolls for their defense. Normally, the roll phase would be over after the damage is settled. But wait, you spend that Glide token to also activate Ice to meet you. You don't have to roll for it, but you would perform the ability. So gain an Ice Shard, inflict a Dice Cube, and then roll to possibly deal more damage, or gain the other benefits described in the ability. So in summary, it's like attacking twice in one turn. That's crazy. It is important to note you can only spend 1 Glide token per turn, so don't try to chain 3 attacks into 1. Also, as strong as Glide can be, your opponent also gets to roll for a second defense if it's defendable damage. So Iceman's weakness is probably a hero with a great defense that hits back. But how do you consistently gain Glide tokens when you need 5 Ice Shards to do so? Welcome to Iceman's Freezer. Basically, the Freezer is a card where you can store Ice Shards and a Glide token. These tokens are untouchable in the Freezer from your opponent and therefore cannot be removed or transferred to your opponent. So once Ice Shards are in the Freezer, they're safe. There's usually a few questions surrounding this mechanic when you play Iceman for the first time, so we're going into a little more detail. It's important to understand the verbiage used in Iceman's abilities. If the ability says gain Ice Shard, you will put the Ice Shard token directly onto Iceman's hero board. But if it says store Ice Shard, that means you need to put them into the freezer. Remember, all you need is 5 Ice Shard on your player board, and you can exchange that for a Glide token. But also, you can exchange 5 Ice Shards in your freezer for a Glide token. Let's look at a quick example where we've stored 4 Ice Shard already. We roll a small straight, so we activate Dawsome. We store 2 Ice Shard in the freezer, but wait, we can only have 5 Ice Shard in the freezer, and I'm already at 4. So we get that 5th Ice Shard, exchange for a Glide, and store the remaining 1. So that's how the freezer mechanic works. But how or when do you use these freezer tokens? This might be the most important rule in the whole video. You cannot freely spend tokens from your freezer. They have to be transferred out of your freezer and onto Iceman in order to use them. There's only 3 ways to get your freezer tokens transferred: your Frostbite ability, Hoarfrost ability, or a card that specifically says to transfer. So remember to activate those 2 abilities. Those are very important, or otherwise those tokens are just stranded in your freezer. After transferring to your hero board, then you can spend that hard-earned Glide token for a double attack. Now let's take a look at a few cards that I like in Iceman's kit. Your Cold Treat upgrade gives you an extra attack called Frosting, so if you miss out on Cold Treat, you could activate Frosting. I also like Hail the King 2, which gives you another ability called Snow Cone. 3 sixes in Dice Throne is usually a whiff, but Snow Cone you'll store 8 Ice Shard in the freezer, so that's not bad. And then lastly, Hoarfrost 2. It gives you an extra attack called Icy Come, Icy Go, where you gain a glide, inflict 2 dice cube, and deal 5 undefendable damage. Just another nice option. It is important to note that you cannot activate a glide token on some of those secondary upgrade abilities. It has to have an arrow connecting those abilities. Let's look at some other cards that I really like in Iceman's kit. Winter Punderland may be his best card in the entire deck. It's an instant card where you gain glide. You could use this in the middle of your roll phase. Your opponent doesn't think you have a glide, and then you play that, and you immediately have that token. You don't have to worry about the ice shards. You just get to attack twice, basically. And then also Ice Cool. You may transfer any token stored in the freezer to your hero board, so you don't have to worry about rolling for those attacks that transfer those freezer tokens. Another card I like is Gliding on Thin Ice. You play it during your main phase, but you roll a dice, and depending on what you get to store more ice shards, building up that freezer. And then lastly, we have Freeze the Day. Remove 1 ice shard to deal 3 damage to an opponent. And Frozen Cons. Remove an ice shard from the freezer, then roll 1 dice, and depending on what you get a variety of effects. Just more reasons to have a decent amount of ice shards either on your player board or in your freezer. Ultimately, Iceman is as cool and fun to play as the name suggests. Your gameplay should focus on obtaining ice shards and managing your freezer. Don't let your freezer get too full. Remember to activate Frostbite and Hoarfrost every once in a while to transfer that glide token and activate 2 abilities in 1 turn. As always, if there's something else you'd like to point out about this hero, feel free to drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for the next Dice Throne video. Thank you, and continue having fun playing Dice Throne.